Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me. I am beyond excited to take you on a tour of my personal PlayStation 2 collection with over 200 games that I have personally cherished, collected, and played, from iconic classics to some rare finds. And yeah, there are a few holy grails that I still dream of owning. I'm obviously biased towards a certain type or genre of PS2 games, which you'll definitely see in this video. But again, these are my opinions. This is what I love. I would love to hear in the comments what you think about it. What are some of the games that I'm missing from my collection that you guys think I would love? Stick around. Maybe you'll see some hidden gems. Maybe you'll even see a game that you also love. It's one of your favorites. All right, so let's dive into the nostalgia of the PS2 era with over 200 games in my personal collection.
So as you're going to see throughout my collection, I love to try to capture CIB, so complete in box. For those who don't know, that's like whatever was included in it. So if it's got the manual, or in this case, an extra movie ticket, which for the record, this movie wasn't so bad, but then I'm like a huge Charlize Theron fan. If you guys ever seen Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, she was super boss in that game, and Atomic Blondie. Anyway, getting out of line here. This game, released in 2005, was absolutely, for me, awesome. Not because I was a fan of it, but because it was pretty good. Third-person action game developed by Terminal Reality and published by Majesco. A lot of acrobatic assassins flipping and shooting and wall running through my favorite subculture of the dystopian world ending. Fun fact with this game, it's actually finished before the movie, but somehow it was delayed to coincide with its release, which I always found kind of fascinating.
And where does that get me? Shot, stabbed, strangled, crushed, electrocuted, drowned, blown up, and run over?
Arcana Heart, released in 2007. To me, it's a game I feel like does not get enough attention, or a lot of people haven't heard of this game. Super cool 2D anime style fighting game developed by Xamu and published by Atlas, which you're going to see another recurring theme in my collection, it being Atlas related. Definitely stands out for having an all-female roster of fighters, and just like most of the games on this list, I love a strong female protagonist, each paired with a magical arcana spirit that changes their abilities and playstyle. It's kind of like Guilty Gear meets a kind of a Sailor Moon with a ton of air dashing and over-the-top special attacks. Super fast-paced, combo heavy fighter with a unique system where you pick both a character and an arcana. Think of it as like elemental spirit, creating tons of custom combination strategies, which makes this game a lot of fun for me. Fun fact, the original Arcana Heart was first an arcade game in Japan before being ported to PS2, and it really became a cult following for its surprisingly deep combat and quirky cast. Up next, we have two Arc the Lad games. That's Arc the Lad Twilight of the Spirits, which was released in 2003. And my favorite of the pair, Arc the Lad End of Darkness, was released in 2005. So Arc the Lad Twilight of the Spirits, the older one, was the series' big leap into 3D. And for those who played the original on the PS1, you know what this means. Developed by Cattle Call and published by Sony, it blends tactical grid-based combat with traditional JRPG storytelling. In this game, you play as two protagonists, Karg, the human prince, and Dark, a half-Deimos outcast, whose intertwined fates explore themes of war, prejudice, and destiny. And honestly, this game is pretty sweet. As always, love my turn-based, and it also adds a little bit of free movement within a limited zone, especially depending on your weapon's range. Fun fact for this game is Twilight of the Spirits was one of the first PS2 RPGs to feature full voice acting across most story scenes, which for me was pretty ambitious for its time. Switching gears real quick to Arc the Lad End of Darkness, which was again released in 2005. This one took a huge turn, and it dropped the entire tactical combat for real time action RPG, which is not a big plus for me. Similar to Kingdom Hearts or Dark Cloud, which is also on this list. You play as Edda, a hunter for hire who takes on missions across a semi-open world, and I think that part for me made it a little bit better. I think they just did everything in the previous release a little bit better in this one. Although dropping the turn-based hurt it a little bit, I think overall made it a better experience for me. Fun fact, despite obviously a lot of mixed reviews, End of Darkness still holds the distinction of being the only Arc the Lad game with multiplayer support.
Take this. What is it? The spirits.
Alright, next up is Baruch, a total cult classic that's creepy as it is cool. I mean, look at this cover art. This is something from this generation, man, with the cover art and the manuals. This started as a 1998 Sega Saturn game based on a horror novel. Baruch's a roguelike RPG where you're a silent hero diving into the Nerve Tower, a dungeon that shifts every time you play. It hit North America in 2008 from obviously Atlas, and man, it is brutal. Permadeath means you're back to square one if you die, with randomized floors and wild weapons like parasitic worms or angel blades. Baruch's that late night PS2 grind, getting lost in its dark, dreamy vibe. It's a love it or hate it gem. What do you guys think of Baruch? Comment down below. Let's keep rolling through the collection.
Oh, God. It was just a game to you? I see. So you were playing? Unbelievable.
All right, next up, Bully, Rockstar's hilarious schoolyard takeover that's pure chaos. I mean, look at this cover art. Jimmy Hopkins smirking defiantly with that slingshot. Of course, backed by Bulworth Academy's Gothic Towers. It's got that gritty, rebellious vibe truly nailed. And this manual, complete color, end to end, with a little thrown in, cool, fold out map of the entire campus. Amazing. Really takes me back. I thought it would be cool to combine Bully with the Harry Potter universe. So after several failed attempts with copyright warnings from ChatGPT, it spit out something like this. And I think this is kind of cool, combining the two universes together. You play as a tough kid, Jimmy, at Bulworth Academy. It's an open world boarding school packed with cliques like greasers and nerds. And for those who had to read any kind of summer books in elementary school, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, rich guy. I love it that you're twice as old as my grandfather and you're fat and bald.
I've got half a mind to beat you.
Half a mind is right. Suddenly he realizes.
I can't believe you, you little monster.
Mom, why'd you marry that phony? What is wrong with you? I can't believe this.
Dropped in North America on October 17th of 2006 by Rockstar Vancouver, it's got GTA-style freedom, but with classes, dodgeballs in gym, chemistry pranks for stink bombs, plus brawls, bike chases, and pulling epic pranks on teachers and bullies. Controversy forced a rename to Canis Canem Edit in Europe, Latin for dog eat dog, the school's motto. That is one nostalgic gold for me. Those after-school rampages, dodging perfects, feeling like the king of the playground, super total classic. What's your bully memory? Hit it in the comments.
Welcome to Bulworth Academy.
Next up is Chaos Wars, the wild crossover tactics RPG that mashes up heroes from Shadow Hearts, Growlancer, Gungrave, and a few others. It's an epic clash of warriors on a fiery battlefield, swords clashing and magic exploding, total chaos. And again, the manual is loaded with character bios, which I used to love reading about all the characters before I started playing the game, and these intricate key diagrams for summoning knights. You command teams of up to 10 in grid-based battles across India, recruiting knights from other worlds with special keys, you're customizing gear, and pulling off combo attacks. Idea Factory dropped it in Japan in 2006, while hitting North America in June 3rd, 2008 as a GameStop exclusive. Pure grindy tactics fun, with Judgment Ring callbacks from Shadow Hearts. It's infamous for hilariously bad English dub and translation. Like so bad, it's good cult gold.
What are you doing here?
I'm Yoichi of the Lewin. I know you well, Gate Master.
For me, Chaos Wars is peak PS2 nostalgia. Those marathon sessions, unlocking crossover squads, feeling like an interdimensional general. Underrated gem, maybe? What's your take? Definitely comment below.
Hi, Gate Master. Long time no see.
All right, check out Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 and 2. Starting off with Dark Alliance 1, this cover art's pretty cool. It's dark fantasy scene just pulling you into the action. Manual again, pretty sweet, with detailed character sheets for playable heroes like the Barbarian and Sorceress. Snowblind Studios dropped this hack and slash gem in 2001 where you can pick from 3 classes, loot dungeons in Baldur's Gate, real-time combat with killer co-op action. Manuals loaded with crafting charts, runestone info, and character details, all the stuff that we all love. Dark Alliance 2, Black Isle took over this one in 2004, adding weapon crafting with gems and runes, 5 unique characters, I believe, including a Drow monk with deeper skills, and shared loot and co-op. Super addictive dungeon crawling. For those who don't know, the sequel actually sparked a lawsuit from Snowblind over their engine, which ultimately killed their planned 3rd game. Imagine having a Dark Alliance 3. These hit my nostalgia hard. Endless co-op nights, slaying orcs, feeling like D&D legends. For me, it's obviously a really cool PS2 classic, especially as a fan of Baldur's Gate 3. This entire genre, this entire series, must play. What about your memories? What do you guys think? Let's see in the comments. Dark Cloud, released in 2001, developed by Level 5 and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. This was one of those early PS2 games that made you go, whoa, this is next gen. And I mean, the cover art, the attention to detail in this manual, even the art on the disc. Where is this today? This is another reason why the PS2 is still my favorite console of all time. With Dreamcast, of course, following number 2, close number 2. They just don't do this anymore, and it's an action RPG with dungeon crawling, weapon leveling, and one super cool twist. You rebuild the world as you go. Literally. You collect Atla pieces inside dungeons, then place homes, rivers, and trees back where they belong in each village. It's part RPG, part city builder, and all around amazing for its time. And considering that it's over 24 years old at the time of this recording, it still holds on. Super fun fact, early previews had people calling this game Sony's answer to Zelda. Can you believe that? Which isn't far off. It even launched as part of the PS2's early push to show off its power. But come on, compared to Zelda, I wouldn't go that far. Switching gears to Dark Cloud 2, aka Dark Chronicle, released in 2003, also by Level 5. This sequel took everything great about the first game and cranked it up to 11. You play as Max and Monica, 2 time-traveling heroes trying to restore their future using a deep crafting system, weapon upgrades, and that awesome Georama world-building mode from the first game, just bigger, better, and way more colorful. The cel-shaded art still looks fantastic today, nearly 22 years, and the music, straight nostalgia fuel. The invention system lets you take in game photos of random objects to create blueprints for weapons and gadgets, basically turning exploration into a creative scavenger hunt. These 2 games are such cool examples of that early 2000s PS2 magic, when everything felt new, ambitious, and just a little weird in the best way possible. Dawn of Mana was released in Japan on December 21st, 2006, and here in North America on May 24th, 2007. I can't say this enough, but really, I really do appreciate the cover art, the time and detail spent in making this content, physical content. This type of attention is still missing in today's platforms. And you consider the price of these games coming out these days, to not even have anything inside the case sometimes is truly disturbing for me personally. Developed and published by Square Enix. This one's a wild turn for the series. The classic Mana series takes a leap into the full 3D action adventure with less typical RPG menus, more grab and throw physics, real-time movement instead of turn-based strategy, and environmental chaos via the Havoc engine. The story has you playing as Keldric, tasked with saving a world under threat by harnessing the legendary Mana Tree and Sword. Visually striking with lush world building and some awesome audio work. But the gameplay got some mixed reviews and obviously some control frustrations. Me personally, I had a wonderful time replaying this recently. Cannot wait for this to get remastered. Dawn of Mana was actually the first major Mana title to ditch the pure 2D and traditional RPG mold in favor of full 3D and physics-driven combat. Again, pretty ambitious for 2006.
Oh no! Get back, Ritzia, now! Get your claws off her!
Death by Degrees was released in 2005 and developed by Namco. It's one of those cult classic PS2 titles that dare to be different, and you get to play as none other than Nina Williams from Tekken. And I don't know about you guys, but back then, I loved Nina Williams. And for the first time, she's the star of her own game. It's an action-adventure brawler with spy thriller vibes, packed with melee combat, stealth, gadgets, and those gloriously over-the-top cinematic takedowns. What really made it stand out was its unique dual analog stick combat system. You'd flick the right stick in the direction you wanted to attack, targeting specific limbs and even triggering slow-motion X-ray shots when you broke bones. It's a system that felt cool, weird, and kind of ahead of its time. The camera could be a little janky, and the learning curve was not as easy as others, but once it clicked, it was freaking awesome. The soundtrack, the tech noir tone, Nina's icy attitude, it all made for something stylish and unforgettable. Death by Degrees was actually intended to test whether Namco could build a solo Tekken spin-off series. Sadly, sales didn't hit the mark, but it's since earned cult favorite status among PS2 collectors such as myself and Tekken fans alike, and honestly, I would love to see Namco retry this again. Maybe it was too ahead of its time back then, and honestly, it's easy to see why I love it. There's just something super cool about a game that lets Nina Williams snap bones in slow motion and still look amazing doing it. And those costumes, though.
God, you're annoying.
Moving right along. Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3. So Devil May Cry 1 came out in 2001, which is basically the origin story of Dante, the demon hunter extraordinaire, taking on a massive demonic invasion at Mallet Island. This game is what basically invented the modern stylish action hack and slash genre, to me anyway. 2003 is when Devil May Cry 2 came out. Of course, Dante is back, but the tone slightly shifts. The mechanics feel slightly looser, story slightly less focused, to me anyway, and new characters like Lucia are introduced alongside Dante. It's still pretty cool, but myself kind of feel like it maybe has slipped a little bit, and to me, Dante May Cry number 3, which came out in 2005, Dante's Awakening, the prequel technically, or for me, it kind of felt like of sorts, it was a prequel. It's Dante's younger brash, discovering his power and legacy. His father was the Demon Knight Sparta. It also refines the action mechanics with multiple styles, deeper combos, and character growth. It's stylish, epic, and widely regarded as the high point, and I couldn't agree more. Definitely my personal favorite of the three. And if you guys like these three, and you don't have a PS2 or own these physically on the PS2, there is a HD collection which bundles the first three Devil May Cries in the series.
Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga was released in North America in 2005 by none other than Atlus. This game was and still is one of the coolest and most emotionally gripping RPGs on the PS2. It is personally one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It takes the post-apocalyptic edge that Shin Megami Tensei is known for and fuses it with stylish, almost cyberpunk storytelling, and you guys know how much I love my cyberpunk. I even made a video in the past about my favorite cyberpunk games that are not Cyberpunk 2077. You should check it out. I'll link it over here. You play as Surf, an Embryon tribe trapped in the junkyard, a war-torn world where everyone's fighting for ascension to Nirvana. The twist? They all start turning into demons, literally devouring their enemies to survive. Gameplay-wise, it's the signature turn-based system, which you guys know I love. Tactical, punishing, and rewarding when you nail it. But it's also smoother and more character-focused than most SMT titles. Every character's transformation feels personal, like they're wrestling with their own humanity and hunger. The art direction, music by Shoji Meguro, and the tone, dark, moody, mysterious, are amazing. It's got this haunting beauty that just sticks with you. The Digital Devil Saga actually started as a side project before Nocturne blew up. Its dev wanted a more narrative-driven experience, something between classic SMT and story-heavy JRPGs like Final Fantasy X. Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga 2 was released in 2005 in North America, literally the same time as the same year as the first one. It picks up literally directly where the first game ends. There's no filler, no time skip, just straight continuation. The world outside the junkyard is even more messed up. A ruined, sunblasted wasteland where Surf and his crew face off against the Karma Temple and their own corrupted natures. It's got that end-of-the-world feel that makes the best SMT games so gripping. Combat is faster, smarter, and the story dives deep into themes of identity, reincarnation, and what it means to be human when you've literally got a demon inside of you. It's dark, but also hopeful. And the ending, won't ruin it, spoiler-free, absolute gut punch in the best way. This dual release structure was intentional, because Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 were always meant to be a single story split into two because of disk space and pacing. Both games are awesome because they nail that perfect SMT blend of stylish, strategic, and soulful. They make you think about morality, survival, mortality, and what it means to hold on to your humanity in a world that's lost it. And honestly, if you love SMT, these games feel like home, just with more cannibalism and leather jackets. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army on the PS2, obviously, was released in 2006 by none other than Atlus. This one took the Shin Megami Tensei formula and threw it headfirst into early 20th century Japan. You play as none other than Raido, a stylish detective / demon summoner working to protect the capital from supernatural chaos. The vibe is pure noir meets supernatural mystery, old Tokyo streets, jazz undertones, and demonic conspiracies straight out of pulp fiction. Gameplay-wise, this definitely isn't your typical turn-based SMT. Instead, it's real-time combat inside small arenas where you summon demons mid-battle to fight alongside you. You confuse them, command them, or use their abilities to solve environmental puzzles. It's slower and a little quirkier than Nocturne or Digital Devil Saga, but that's part of its charm. It feels like an SMT game living inside a detective novel. Fun fact, the game's setting, Taisho-era Japan, was actually modeled after the real 1920s modernization boom, blending historical elements with dark fantasy. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner 2 brings back Raido against King Abaddon, which for me was my favorite of the pair. Released again in 2009, this sequel is everything fans love about the first, just way tighter, faster, and cooler. You're back, obviously, as Raido, Now more confident, rocking his fedora and sword with style, and going toe-to-toe with a conspiracy involving giant locust demons and a corrupt army. The game plays smoother with smarter demon AI, better camera controls, and deeper fusion systems, including the option to talk to demons mid-battle. Again, a classic SMT touch. The story's darker too, with stronger emotional beasts and that same mix of occult detective work and urban legend horror. In Japan, Atlus released King Abaddon with a limited edition plush Jack Frost dress as Raido. It's an amazing collector's piece that became a holy grail for SMT fans, and spoiler alert, I do not own this, but still on the hunt. Both games are super awesome because they feel totally unique, SMT filtered through a vintage detective lens. The mix again of noir storytelling, who doesn't love a little demon fusion, and real-time combat gives them a flavor that stands apart from Nocturne or again the Digital Devil saga. And Raido himself, one of the coolest protagonists Atlus ever made, super calm, composed, and rocking that trench coat like a demon-slaying gentleman. Now for those who don't own this on the PS2, there is a game similar that was released recently on PS4, PS5, Switch 2, and I'll put a link to it in the description. It's not an affiliate link or anything, it's just if you guys are interested in getting into the series, you can get it for about $35 US.
All right, moving right along. Up next, we have Disgaea, Hour of Darkness, and Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories. So Disgaea, Hour of Darkness was released back in 2003 by none other than NIS. This was the game that put tactical RPG absurdity on the map. You play as Laharl, the snarky, self-proclaimed overlord of the Netherworld, waking up after a 2-year nap to find demons fighting over his throne. Alongside Etna and Flan, you dive into a story that's equal parts hilarious, dramatic, and surprisingly heartfelt. The gameplay, deep, doesn't even cover it. This is a grid-based, turn-based strategy RPG that lets you level up to 9,999. Throw your party members across the map and even go inside your weapons to make them stronger. The famous item world mechanic. It's chaotic, addictive, and completely over the top. This game is awesome because it took the serious, grindy SRPG formula of games like Final Fantasy Tactics, which I love, and made it funny, meta, and endlessly replayable. The writing is self-aware, the cast is memorable, and the soundtrack slaps. You can tell the devs just wanted players to have fun breaking the game's systems. And the English localization by Atlus became a cult hit because of its clever humor and great voice cast, including a young Kaji Tang, who later voiced Ichiban in the Yakuza Like a Dragon game. Disgaea 2 Cursed Memories was released in 2006. This sequel refined everything fans loved from the first game. You play as Adele, a human determined to break a curse that's turning everyone in his world into demons. It's got a more grounded story. Well, as grounded as Disgaea gets, but still loaded with the series' signature humor, wild battles, and absolutely massive numbers. The combat system is smoother, the visuals sharper, and the character roster even crazier. The geo-panel puzzles return, adding color-based strategy layers to the maps. And the game still encourages you to experiment, grind, and laugh your way through absurd scenarios. Cursed Memories adds more heart to the chaos. It balances genuine emotional storytelling with the goofy netherworld charm that makes the series shine. Plus, Adele and Rosalind's dynamic is genuinely endearing. It's anime chemistry, for me, done right. The PS2 version later got expanded into Disgaea 2 Dark Hero Days on the PSP, which added new characters, scenarios, and tweaks that made it a fan favorite among handheld SRPG fans. Both of these games are pure tactical RPG joy. Funny, challenging, and amazingly deep, they're kind of games that remind you why PS2 was such a golden age for RPG experimentation. And honestly, few things are as satisfying as watching a single character one-shot a boss after 200 hours of grinding. That's the Disgaea magic right there.
No, I mean, yes.
Dokapon Kingdom, released in North America in 2008, developed by Sting and published by Atlus. Dokapon Kingdom is one of those why don't more people know about this gems on the PS2. Imagine Mario Party and Final Fantasy had a mischievous little kid. Yeah, that's Dokapon Kingdom. It's a board game RPG hybrid where up to 4 players race to save a kingdom and get rich doing it, all while betraying and robbing each other along the way. You spin a wheel to move around the map, land on monsters, fight in simple but strategic turn-based battles, and collect gold and loot. But here's where it gets awesome. You can steal items, prank rivals, or even rename your friends after you beat them. It's hilarious chaos wrapped in bright anime-style visuals and surprisingly deep RPG mechanics. It's one of those rare multiplayer games where the friendship breaking comes with stats, spells, and class changes. It's competitive, silly, and still one of the most fun couch co-op experiences out there. The mix of RPG progression and party game nonsense just hits that perfect PS2 era weirdness. It's a cult classic. Dokapon Kingdom became so beloved over time that it was remastered for the Nintendo Switch and PC back in 2023 as Dokapon Kingdom Connect, complete with online multiplayer for modern chaos. So yeah, if you've got the PS2 original, you're holding on to something cool. It's goofy, charming, and the kind of game that'll have your friends plotting revenge long after you've turned off the console.
I'm so cool!
Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. Released in 2002 by Capcom, this game took one of the most beloved JRPG franchise of the 90s and gave it a bold, almost shocking reinvention. Gone with a bright fantasy world and talking animal companions, Dragon Quarter dove deep underground into a bleak, dystopian setting where humanity literally lives beneath the earth. You play as Ryu, a low-ranking ranger who discovers he carries the power of a dragon within him. Sounds awesome, right? Well, there's a catch. Using that dragon power slowly kills you. Every transformation increases your D counter, and once it hits 100%, well, it's game over. Permanently. You can't just grind and overpower everything. You have to plan, conserve, and think your way through the game's strategic semi-turn-based battles. The result is one of the most unique and underrated RPGs on the PS2. It mixes real-time movement with turn-based positioning, giving combat a tactical feel, and its haunting underground world tells a quiet human story about survival, sacrifice, and hope in the dark. Dragon Quarter dared to break tradition. It's challenging, moody, and brilliantly designed around consequence and replay. Once you fail, you restart with your learned skills and knowledge, unlocking new dialogue and paths through the scenario overlay system. It's a game that rewards mastery and persistence, and when it clicks, it feels amazing. Dragon Quarter's director Makoto Ikahara confirmed in interviews that the game's oppressive underground world meant to mirror the player's emotional pressure. The further you climb toward the surface, the more desperate and hopeful it feels. This game is seriously cool, dark, daring, and way ahead of its time. It's the kind of title that makes you appreciate when the series takes risks, even if it burns a few dragon souls in the process. And now, the time we've all been waiting for, Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King. The PS2 release wasn't just a game, it was an experience from the moment you opened the case. The cover art from the iconic Akira Toriyama, illustration of the hero, pose on the wagon is instantly recognizable. The included manual was beautifully detailed, full color, loaded with character bios, spell descriptions, and artwork that gave players that old school, ready before you play excitement. Atlas and Square Enix manuals from that era were truly something special. This one is no exception. The bonus disc, which every North American copy came with, Final Fantasy XII demo disc, giving players an early peek at another huge Square Enix release. At the time, that was a massive deal. Released in 2004 in Japan and 2005 in North America, developed by Level 5 and published by Square Enix, this game was one of the PS2's crown jewels and one of the most visually amazing JRPGs of its era. It was the first Dragon Quest to go full 3D, and it did so beautifully. The cel-shaded graphics, hand-drawn designs again by Akira Toriyama from Dragon Ball, and fully orchestrated score by Koichi Sugiyama came together to create a world that felt alive. You play as a humble royal guard known simply as the hero on a quest to lift a curse placed on King Trode and his daughter, Princess Medea, who's been turned into a horse.
Now, where's the princess? Where's my Medea? My precious one and only daughter.
You explore open fields, towering castles, and charming villages that feel like a living fairy tale. The gameplay is classic Dragon Quest turn-based battles, exploration, monster collecting, alchemy crafting, and that perfect balance of simplicity and depth. Every town is full of quirky characters, every victory feels earned, and the pacing is spot on. Let's just take a quick moment to appreciate the amazing voice acting, sound design, and music. Soundtrack of this game is phenomenal. Dragon Quest VIII was the first game in the series to sell over 5 million copies worldwide, and it single-handedly reintroduced the franchise to Western audience under its proper name after years of being called Dragon Warrior. If you've got the original PS2 copy complete with that glossy manual and that Final Fantasy XII demo disc, you're holding on to a little piece of JRPG history. It's more than just a game. It's a snapshot of when Square Enix was firing on all cylinders, giving us worlds we still dream about decades later. The Nightmare of Druaga. Fushigino Dungeon was released in North America in 2005 by Eureka and Namco and is definitely probably some of the deepest cuts from my PS2 collection. It's the spiritual sequel to the classic 1984 Namco arcade game, The Tower of Druaga, but rebuilt as a full-on roguelike RPG with that unmistakable early 2000s Namco polish. You play as none other than Gilgamesh, the heroic knight from the original, returning once again to rescue Ki, who's been trapped in a mysterious, ever-changing dungeon. Each floor is procedurally generated, filled with traps, treasure, and enemies that will punish you for every mistake. When you die, and trust me, you will, you lose your gear and experience, forcing you to start over, smarter, not stronger. It's brutal, but fair in that classic roguelike way. Nightmare of Druaga really has a moody atmosphere, dark and awesome retro callbacks, and a sense of discovery that scratches the same itch as Shiren the Wanderer or Dark Cloud's Dungeon Dives. The art direction gives the series' medieval fantasy roots a fresh, anime-inspired look, and the soundtrack, equal parts eerie and heroic, really sells that lone knight lost in the labyrinth vibe. For fans like me who were absolutely obsessed with the Matrix during this era, the trench coats, the sunglasses, the late night, what if reality is a simulation talk, Enter the Matrix was as close as you could get to plugging in. It wasn't perfect, but it was bold, stylish, and undeniably part of that Matrix legacy. Released in 2003 by Shiny Entertainment and Atari, this was one of the most ambitious movie tie-ins ever made, and honestly, a total time capsule of early 2000s gaming hype. Written and directed by the Wachowskis themselves, it wasn't just inspired by The Matrix Reloaded, it was canon. They actually filmed over an hour of exclusive live-action footage just for the game, bridging the gap between Reloaded and Revolutions. You play as Niobe or Ghost, two secondary characters from the films, each with their own missions, combat sequences, and cinematic cutscenes that connect directly to the movie's storyline. The gameplay mixed third-person gunfights, kung fu melee, and Matrix-style bullet time, that glorious slow-motion effect that never gets old. In 2003, this was mind-blowing. The cinematics, the soundtrack, the way it tied directly into the movie, it made you feel like you were part of the Matrix universe, not just visiting it. The atmosphere was thick with that green-tinted cyberpunk energy that defined the early 2000s. And as a lifelong fan of the Matrix series, especially during that era when everything from the music to the philosophy behind the films just hit differently, this game for me is pure nostalgia fuel. But let's just be honest here for a second. I was super disappointed, just like everybody else, when they found out they couldn't play as Neo. Like, come on. Every fan wanted to dodge bullets in slow motion, fight Smiths in a subway, and pull off that trench coat flapping air kick madness. Niobe and Ghost are cool and all, but they weren't the one. After all that build-up from Reloaded, it felt like we got the B-side to Neo's album. And honestly, the Wachowskis reportedly kept Neo out of the game because they wanted Enter the Matrix to tell a parallel story, not just repeat the films. That choice made it unique, but also left a lot of us wishing for the ultimate Neo power fantasy. You guys knew this game was going to be next. And after the disappointment of not being able to play as Neo and Enter the Matrix, obviously this game hit like a digital awakening. Finally, stepping into his shoes, defying gravity, and rewriting the Matrix from the inside out. It was everything I wanted back then, and honestly, it's still cool as hell today. The Matrix Path of Neo was released in 2005 by Shiny Entertainment again and Atari. This one felt like redemption. After Enter the Matrix teased us with bullet time and lore but kept Neo off the playable roster, Path of Neo finally gave fans like me exactly what we'd been waiting for, the chance to actually be the one. As a massive fan of the Matrix, especially again during that early 2000s golden era of green coat and trench coats, and of course the philosophical chaos, I could not wait to jump in. And man, this game delivered that fantasy. You play as Neo, living out his entire arc from the first film all the way through Revolutions, reimagined with the Wachowskis' full blessing this time. It's packed with cinematic moments, classic quotes, and tons of wild what-if scenarios that let you rewrite Neo's fate in full bullet time glory. Gameplay-wise, Path of Neo improves on Enter the Matrix in almost every way. You've got more fluid martial arts combat, slow motion gameplay, upgradable powers, and massive set-piece battles that make you feel like you're inside the movie. The Wachowskis even re-edited footage from all three films and blended it with game scenes to make one seamless, trippy movie-game hybrid, and it actually works. And why it's awesome? Because it finally gave the fans what we wanted. Playing as Neo, in control, bending the rules of reality. You can stop bullets midair, crush Agent Smith clones, and leap across rooftops like a digital god. The physics might feel dated today, but back then, it was absolutely amazing. It made you feel powerful in a way few games ever did. Eternal Poison, released in 2008 by Atlas. This one sits right at the end of the PS2 lifecycle, and man, it's one of those underrated gems that proves the console went out swinging. Phage Against the Majin, the official soundtrack CD, included exclusively in the first print copies, features several haunting tracks from the game's OST with Phage, who is the witch protagonist, gracing the disc art. The music absolutely nails that dark fairy tale vibe, eerie pianos, brooding strings, and those somber choirs that make you feel like you're standing in a cursed cathedral. For me personally, this is one of my all-time favorites. It's dark, stylish, hauntingly beautiful, and absolutely dripping with atmosphere, the kind of game that makes you feel like you've stumbled onto a forgotten secret. You're drawn into Besek, a twisted realm where humans battle demonic beings called Majin in tactical, turn-based combat. The story unfolds across multiple character campaigns, each offering a different perspective on the same mysterious events, giving the game this layered, almost visual novel-like structure. It's not just a good versus evil story, it's about obsession, betrayal, and the thin line between salvation and damnation. The gameplay mixes strategy RPG mechanics with monster capturing. You can actually bind Majin and use them in battle, Pokemon style, but with way more gothic flair. Combat is deliberate and methodical, with punishing difficulty and that signature Atlas figure it out or perish energy. The art direction, straight up gorgeous. Hand-painted portraits, dark fairy tale backdrops, and a soundtrack that perfectly balances melancholy and menace. Eternal Poison feels like Shin Megami Tensei and Final Fantasy Tactics met inside a dark cathedral at midnight. It's complex, mature, and endlessly replayable thanks to its branching paths and multiple endings. It's also one of those rare PS2 games that nails tone. Everything just feels deliberate, from the voice acting to the eerie pauses between lines. This game just hits different. The atmosphere, the story, the music, it's mesmerizing. Eternal Poison isn't just a PS2 game, it's a total vibe. The kind of moody, mysterious experience that reminds you why you fell in love with JRPGs in the first place. Dark, elegant, and amazing. It comes as no surprise that I have a few Final Fantasy games on my PS2. We're going to start it off with Final Fantasy X. Even after all these years, it's just as cool, beautiful, and amazing as it was the day you first fired it up and heard that soft piano intro fade in.
Listen to my story.
Released in 2001 by Square, this one's not exactly a deep cut. It's one of those defining RPGs of the PS2 era, and let's be honest, if you had a PS2 and even a passing interest in RPGs, then Final Fantasy X was probably sitting proudly in your collection. And of course it is, because it's a masterpiece. You play as Titus, a star blitzball player who's pulled from his flashy, futuristic city into the world of Spira, a land haunted by the monstrous being known as Sin. There he meets Yuna, a summoner on a pilgrimage to stop the endless cycle of destruction. What starts as a typical hero helps save the world story turns into something emotional, reflective, and honestly pretty heartbreaking. The characters felt alive, the world was vibrant, the turn-based battle system was beautifully refined. It struck this perfect balance between strategy and accessibility. Yeah, Final Fantasy X being in any PS2 collection isn't exactly a surprise. It's honestly basically mandatory. It's one of those games that defines the era. Emotional storytelling, gorgeous art direction, and music that sticks with you for life. Final Fantasy XII. Released in 2006 by Square Enix, this one arrived near the tail end of the PS2's life, and wow, what a send-off. By then, Final Fantasy had already given us unforgettable worlds and characters, but 12 went bigger, deeper, and more political. Set in the sprawling world of Ivalice, yup, that same Ivalice as from Final Fantasy Tactics, you play as Van, a street thief who dreams of becoming a sky pirate. But the story quickly shifts into a massive tale of empires, rebellion, and fate. You join an unforgettable crew: Ash, the fallen princess, Balthier, the effortlessly cool sky pirate, and Fran, my personal favorite. And together, you get pulled into a war that feels way more Star Wars meets Shakespeare than typical JRPG melodrama. Final Fantasy XII redefined the series' formula with its Gambit system, letting you program your party's behavior in battle. It was like building your own little AI squad before that was even a buzzword. Combined with seamless overworld exploration and real-time combat, it felt revolutionary. If Final Fantasy X was the emotional, personal journey of the PS2 era, Final Fantasy XII was its grand cinematic epic, the one that made you feel like you were living in a breathing world. The political storylines, the massive open zones, the cool as hell cast, it all adds up to something that still feels amazing today. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. Now, full disclosure, Vincent Valentine was my favorite character from Final Fantasy VII. Released in 2006 by Square Enix, Dirge of Cerberus was one of those bold PS2 experiments that showed how much the Final Fantasy VII universe had grown beyond its original RPG roots. Instead of another turn-based adventure, this one dove headfirst into third-person shooter territory, putting the spotlight on everybody's favorite brooding gunman, Vincent Valentine. Set 3 years after the events of Final Fantasy VII, the game follows Vincent as he faces off against a mysterious military group called Deep Ground, remnant of Shinra who are bent on chaos and genetic experimentation. It's dark, moody, and drenched in that signature Final Fantasy VII melancholy. Part gothic shooter, part emotional epilogue. Getting to finally play as Vincent, one of the most mysterious characters in the Final Fantasy VII world, for me was awesome. His 3-barrel Cerberus handgun, flashy limit breaks, and brooding one-liners made him feel like the ultimate anti-hero. The gameplay mixed fast-paced gun combat with light RPG mechanics, like weapon upgrades and experience points, wrapped in full-motion cinematics that were gorgeous for their time. Sure, some critics were mixed on it, mostly due to the clunky controls, but for Final Fantasy VII fans like myself, hardcore Final Fantasy VII fan like myself, it was a dream come true. It deepened the lore, showcased what happened to the world post-Meteor, and tied it into the larger compilation of Final 7 universe alongside Advent Children and Crisis Core. Dirge of Cerberus isn't just a side story, it's a stylish, moody piece of Final Fantasy VII history. It might not be perfect, but it's so cool, ambitious, and full of that early 2000s Square Enix energy, the kind that even made its flaws feel fascinating. And let's be honest, it's Vincent Valentine unleashed, and for fans like me, that alone made it amazing. Alright, next up, Freestyle Metal X. This one is purely early 2000s adrenaline. It's loud, it's chaotic, and it's got that unapologetic heavy metal energy that defined the era. You can feel the attitude just by turning the game on. I actually covered this game in my video, Top Heavy Metal Inspired Video Games, which I'll put a link in the description and a little boop right here, because honestly, this game belongs in that lineup. It's dirt, fire, and distortion all rolled into one package. The gameplay is basically motocross gone rogue. Instead of just hitting clean jumps and perfect landings, Freestyle Metal X wants you to wipe out in style. It's all about defying gravity, pulling off insane tricks. It's kind of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater meets motocross bike, and crashing through whatever stands in your way. There's this rebellious tone throughout. Like the developers said, let's make Tony Hawk but louder, faster, and way more dangerous. The soundtrack, absolute chaos in the best way possible. You've got heavy riffs, aggressive drums, and that raw early 2000s vibe that makes you want to headbang between jumps. It fits perfectly with the over-the-top gameplay. Visually, it's gritty in that PS2 kind of way that just works. It's not polished, it's not perfect, but that's what gives it charm, and you can practically smell the gasoline and sweat through the screen. Front Mission 4. Man, this one hits me right in the tactical RPG loving heart. If you grew up obsessed with grid-based strategy games like Final Fantasy Tactics or Disgaea, and who hasn't, Front Mission 4 feels like a coming home. Only this time, home has a 20-ton walking tank with missile launchers for arms. This was Square Enix doing what they did best in the PS2 era, taking a niche idea and polishing it into something that feels epic. Front Mission 4 builds on everything that made the earlier entries great. Deep customization, thoughtful tactics, and a story that actually takes itself seriously. You're switching between two different squads, Elsa and her European unit, and Daryl's ragtag team in South America, and both perspectives slowly weave together into something bigger. The thing I love most about this game is the weight of every action. Every step your Wanzer, that's what they call mechs, takes what feels heavy and deliberate. It's not flashy, but it is methodical, strategic, and incredibly satisfying when your plan comes together. And honestly, the soundtrack deserves credit too. It's understated, a little cinematic, a little melancholic, but it fits the tone perfectly. This isn't a rah-rah giant robots kind of game. It's grounded, political, and surprisingly mature. If you're into tactical RPGs with depth, heart, and a little bit of grit, Front Mission 4 is a gem that deserves more love. It's not flashy like Armored Core or fast-paced like Zone of the Enders, but it's one of those games that rewards patience and strategy. And honestly, it's just cool seeing Square Enix experiment like this, when they weren't afraid to make something a little slower, a little heavier, and a lot smarter. Full Metal Alchemist. Now, this one brings back some memories. Back in the early 2000s, anime-based games were hit or miss, and to be fair, this one was a little bit of both, but man, it does have heart. Full Metal Alchemist and Broken Angel, that's the full title, dropped right when the anime was exploding in popularity. But for fans like me, seeing Ed and Al actually playable on PS2 was pretty awesome. You get real-time combat, alchemy transmutations, and fully voiced dialogue, which was a big deal back then. What's cool is how they leaned into the alchemy system. You can turn everyday objects into weapons or traps mid-battle, like transforming pipes into spears or turning debris into shields. It's not the most polished combat system, but it's fun and surprisingly creative once you get the hang of it. The visuals are very PS2 anime game, but in a charming way. Cel-shaded bright colors, slightly stiff animations. It looks like an episode of the show that somehow made its way onto a disc. And the voice acting, honestly, was kind of spot on. They actually brought back the English voice cast from the anime, which instantly makes it feel more authentic. Story-wise, it's a standalone adventure, not a retelling of the anime, but its own side story that fits right into that universe. It's got that Square Enix flair of drama, even if the pacing can get a little slow at times. If you're a fan of Full Metal Alchemist, or just love anime tie-in games from that golden PS2 era, this one's worth tracking down. It's not perfect again, but it really is charming, creative, and full of that mid-2000s personality that we just don't get anymore. Genji, Dawn of the Samurai. This one, man, this oozes style. It's one of those games that instantly reminds you why the PS2 era again was so special. Developers were taking risks. They were experimenting with cinematic storytelling and giving us games that felt like playable works of art. Released by Sony's Japan studio back in 2005, Genji is a stunning hack-and-slash adventure, loosely inspired by the tale of the Heike, an ancient Japanese epic. You play as Yoshitsune and Benkei, two warriors with totally different fighting styles. And they switch between them as you carve your way through armies and demons in this beautiful reimagining of feudal Japan. The combat is elegant, fast, and feels great once you lock into the rhythm. Yoshitsune is all about speed and precision, flipping through enemies like a dancer, while Benkei is pure power, swinging massive weapons that can clear a crowd in one hit. And of course, there's the Komai system, a kind of slow motion parry mechanic that lets you counter an entire group of enemies if your timing's perfect. Pulling it off still feels awesome nearly 20 years later. Visually, Genji was gorgeous for its time. Those lush cherry blossoms, shimmering water, temple courtyards lit by lanterns. It's like an interactive piece of art, really is. Japan Studio really had a knack for blending cinematic storytelling with that classic PlayStation magic. And don't forget the soundtrack, it definitely deserves some love too. It's the mix of traditional Japanese instruments and orchestral arrangements that perfectly match the atmosphere. It makes every battle feel like part of a much bigger story. What's wild is how Genji flew under the radar for a lot of players. It wasn't a blockbuster like Devil May Cry or Onimusha, but it totally belongs in that conversation. It's polished, it's immersive, and it's one of those titles that reminds you how deep the PS2 library really is. If you've never played it, this is one of those what I consider hidden gems that deserves a spot in your collection, especially if you love samurai era games with heart and atmosphere. And yes, this is the first Genji, the one before the infamous giant enemy crab sequel on the PS3. This is when it all started. Stylish, grounded, and totally awesome.
何者だ?
心の腐りきった兵士の人間に答える必要はない。
勘違いしているようだな。俺は
問答無用。
That's gonna wrap up part 1 of my PS2 collection. We just went over 36 games of my over 200 games in my PS2 collection, and to me that's crazy. What's even crazier is that we're nowhere close to being done. This is going to be a multi-part journey. I want to make sure I give each one of my games in my collection its moment in the spotlight. So if you enjoyed hanging out with me and taking this trip down PS2 memory lane, you're definitely going to want to hit subscribe so you don't miss part 2, part 3, and especially the part where I question my financial decisions on purchasing all these games. Also, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about these games. If any of these games are some of your favorites, have I not mentioned anything so far that you think I should? Thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you for your support throughout this entire crazy series, and I will definitely see you guys in the next part.